And for the people, those who have connected on the Zoom, just wanted to check whether my audio and video is clear, right? If it is clear, you can just write clear in the chat box, right? Is my audio and video clear? Is my audio and video clear? Right? YouTube की जनता आप भी बता दीजिए, right? YouTube की जनता आप भी बता दीजिए. Great, 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 great. Right. After Trump came into a picture, every day we are hearing something new about US market. And there was a one very insightful news which I just wanted to speak on, which many of you know it, right? But let's see how much audience know it out. Anyone knows who is the CFO of Tesla? Anyone know who is the CFO of Tesla? In the chat box, if you can answer it, let's see who can answer it first. CFO of Tesla. क्या बात है, उनकी सैलरी भी बता दीजिए साथ साथ में, because I think that was a very much viral post which happened, right? If anyone knows it out, okay, got it, got it, got it. Salary के साथ बताएंगे तो मजा आएगा. You can also Google it out if you are not aware of it. Okay, someone is saying 100 crore, someone is saying 1000 crore, someone is saying 1200 crore. I don't know how people are getting a different answers, but it is somewhere in crores, right? Which is at least above 100 crores. So let us assume that out. Now, this is one of our first session for a US job market, right? We had multiple sessions for the different countries. We had for Dubai, and one of the thing which we have noticed it out. I still remember my first session for Dubai. The people who listened the session very thoroughly, because to be honest, I also did not know much about US market, right? So today we have one of my very good friend, and he's a mentor to you guys because luckily he has been in US and he can guide you, he can mentor you, and he's a chartered accountant, guys. So he'll guide you how he'll end up in US market, what you can do also to reach out there. Right. So if you listen it out very carefully, trust me, by the end of a session, you'll learn a hell lot of things which can change your mind and perception about the things around. Right. Even if you don't want to get into US, by the way, you are aware of a lot of global companies have their back office in India, which are getting a outsourcing work in India. And one of the major hiring is done by Deloitte USA. And I'll share the statistics. Every fifth qualified chartered accountant is nowadays having an offer of a global company, guys. And every seventh chartered accountant has joined Deloitte USA, by the way. So that is number of statistics I love to share it out, which is there. So the US market, the global market is booming. And with this, I would request everyone to please unmute yourself and invite our speaker, Parth Bhai. आवाज यूएस तक पहुंचानी चाहिए, right? Let us invite
Welcome,
them.
sir. Welcome, sir.
Welcome,
Welcome,
Thank you,
sir.
thank you,
sir.
thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Um,
Welcome.
Welcome, sir.
Great.
it's a pleasure being
Hello,
here
Shivam sir. Hello,
with
Parth sir.
Shivam, and
Yeah.
it's a pleasure meeting you guys. And Shivam, before we start into our session, I want this session to be as interactive as possible. So, guys, kabhi bhi koi bhi type ka question ho, if you want to ask, ask on the call, or you can also message me on my personal email address, which I'll share with all of you. I obviously want to be a resource to you guys and also see a community at large. I know Shivam Bhai, I told you, right, like how passionate I am, getting our folks here and,
Right.
explaining them the US market and then to see if it's a good fit for them or not. So,
Great.
I try to be as honest and as transparent as possible so I can give you guys the best information so that you guys take the best decision, for yourself. So,
Great, great. So first of all, thanks, Parth, for joining in for the session. So just wanted to know your journey in short, right? How did you landed up a job in US market, right? If you can just give a brief, a short journey, how did you land up in US?
yes, it's actually a very interesting journey how I ended up here. All transparency, I never thought I'll be in the US market, to be honest, when I started my CA journey. So I started, CA course in Mumbai. I did my articleship in Mumbai with a big public accounting firm, Grant Thornton to be clear. So after that, I did my articleship and I did my articleship in audit. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do this. I'm like, this is not for me. Like, it's long hours. I see my managers, and my directors, partners struggling all the time. I'm like, oh no. So that's the time when, I actually met Bhavish Bhai, and Bhavish Bhai is a great, great resource. He explained me, the UAE market, and he told me like, hey, Parth, you have great background, it's worth exploring UAE. So literally, I went to UAE just for a month. My plan was like, okay, gumunga, dekhunga Dubai, and then I'll also start applying, and see what. Let's just test out the market. So within like first 7 days, I got a job, offer letter from GT again in audit, and so I was in Dubai for a couple of years.
Okay.
with GT, and it was a great experience for me. I got promoted. My client reached out to me; they wanted to hire me. I went client side, and it was great. So being in the UAE, I actually have a lot of friends, all across the world. So one of my friend was based in the US, and I'm like, "Hey, Parth, why don't you try US market?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." I mean, I loved here. I came to Dubai, took a chance, and I loved it. So why not? So, my friend sent my resume to GTUS HR, and had a call immediately, like 3 days. Had an
Okay.
interview in like next 5 days, and then in like within a week, I had an offer letter from US. And this was back in 2019.
Okay.
I was Yeah, and then I decided, all right, and they were obviously they were doing my visa, they were giving me relocation bonus, and they were giving me all other perks, and it
Okay.
was New York City where
Oh,
they wanted me to be placed into, and that really got me excited, as a young chartered accountant. And yeah, I shipped I took the chance. I came here, and now it's been 6 years since I've been here. I got promoted with GT twice, and I recently just changed my job, and I'm currently working as a senior director, in finance for a tech company, which is backed by private
nice.
equity. So that's how I got here. So it's been a
Nice.
journey for sure. Being abroad for 10 years now, including UAE. So
Nice, nice. A really, really inspiring journey out. But one thing which I just want to ask you from this journey is why do people look to get into a global market, right? Any global market, since you being a part of UAE, then you went to US. So if you can just let us know the perks of going there and why are people so enthusiastic for getting into global jobs?
correct. So there are a few things, right, Shivam? I think one thing which obviously is a big factor is just the monetary benefits.
Okay.
When you move abroad, like even UAE or US, you can expect at least 3 to 5 times jump in your salary, which is again a big motivation
Hmm.
factor, right? If you want to fast track your career.
Okay.
And second thing is just the scale of opportunities, right? So let me give you some of my own personal experience. So GTUS, when I started as a senior,
Hmm.
um, you know, in, I had a company which was a startup, and they wanted to go. They were in process of going public. They actually went public with a valuation of $40 billion,
Okay.
and I was with them through the entire journey. It's a global company, and the kind of exposure I got from the whole experience of them being a startup with like $100 million in revenue to $1 billion in revenue within a matter of 2 years, that was a really good experience for me. I think these kind of experience is what US can provide
Hmm.
you. And again, when I say all this stuff, of course, you have a company, you know going through the SEC regulation, filing all the different forms,
Hmm.
understanding the nuances and technical aspects of the whole IPO process. And this was like now I carry that experience for me. Of course, like when I was in the whole process, it was really intense. But now when I look back, it's like, okay, great. Now I know how this whole process work.
Okay.
So I think one of the things that I've seen, like, people get really excited about, who really are passionate about their career, is the kind of opportunities a global market could provide you. So most of the companies that I work with as an auditor, and also right now, my company is also a global company. So I have, as you mentioned, I have a back end office in India, but I
Okay.
also have offices throughout the globe. So
Hmm.
because US is the head office, they all report to us. So you also get
Okay.
to learn about different, regulations and compliance requirements in other countries as well while you're in the US. So
Hmm.
that is, some experience that I had. But essentially, yes, two things: the exposure and monetary benefits. I think those two are, in my opinion, the biggest reason why anyone wants to go abroad.
True.
And
True. Got it. So which country has been the most exposure for you in terms of since you worked in India and Bombay, then you shifted to UAE and then US. Out of the three, which was the best exposure you have got it out?
so purely in terms of exposure, I would say US. I mean, hands down US, the kind of companies that I work with. Also, like, let me give you an example. I actually work with a huge company which was going through a bankruptcy procedure.
Okay.
So I was with them. I saw them go through the bankruptcy, emerge out of bankruptcy. I saw the whole capital raise, how they emerge out of bankruptcy, the whole regulation side of it. And this is again, I'm talking a global company. I mean, I can also name the company, and you guys probably would know it. It's WeWork.
Okay. Oh.
So I was directly working with the CFO of WeWork in the whole process. And
Oh
because I
my
was
God.
a senior member of the team, I had that exposure. I could really, contact him and, get the answers that I need. So, like, just in terms of exposure, I would say US. UAE also would give you, some kind of exposure. And I mean, India also, like, I mean, I know India, a lot of things are happening and, things are quickly changing there as well. It's more of a global landscape now, right? So in
Yeah.
the end, it really ends up on the kind of path that you want to pursue for yourself. But this is what I would say, young chartered accountants, right? Like early in your career, try to get into a job where you can really learn the work
Okay.
and also work with a great mentor and manager. Like
Mm.
your manager would make a huge difference in your life. He would push you, he'll give you the challenges. So it's really important for you, like, all of us to get a great mentor. So that's what really helped me.
Nice. Nice. So you highlighted about a country, you highlighted about the exposure and earning. I think the thought process with students is now clear that now, okay, I'll get a good exposure, I'll get a good money. But the biggest question lies is how to go there. Right? So if you can just highlight on US market, ki, let's say if someone is targeting to get into US, right? How they can land up into US because the visa process is really tough, right? Getting a sponsorship is tough. So if you can just highlight from very basics what type of visas are required, right? How much is the sponsorship required? And in fact, today itself there was a news on the same, right, going on the social media. So if you can also just give a brief about it, what exactly the news is talking about so that people get to know.
Yes, and this news just came out yesterday. So, as we speak, we also trying to digest the whole, like, what's happening in the market, and like, the landscape is changing drastically, right? As all of you guys are aware of it, I'm sure you guys must have seen the news. Um, so, I mean, if you want me to talk about, in fact, before I get into news, let's just talk about the avenues that, a chartered accountant has, right? Or that matter, anyone from India who wants to get into the US market, how they can actually get here.
Yes.
So, so let's talk about different kind of visa. So there is L visa, there is H visa,
Okay.
there is J visa, and there is F visa. There are four types of
Okay.
visa, right? So L visa, let's talk about that. So L visa is if you are working in a multinational corporation, and if you work with them for a year in past 3 years,
Mm.
then if a US counterpart of that company wants you to be in the US, they can sponsor you L visa.
Okay.
So the benefit of L visa is that you don't have to go through the lottery process, which is applicable in H visa, and I can get into that process as well. So you get here, you go to US consulate. Once they do their own check, your interview, and then you are set. You can come to the US, and you don't have to go through the lottery process, which is a big, you know, lottery process itself is a big hurdle for someone who wants to get here, and also it's a hurdle on the employer side because they don't want to, put it on chance, right?
Mm.
That whether you can get here on H visa or not. So let me touch base on H visa right now, right? So H visa is applicable for specialty occupation,
Okay.
and CA also, forms part of it. I'm myself on H visa right now, so I'm on H1B, right? So H visa, the way the process works is an employer would file H visa for you.
Mm.
It will go through USCIS,
Okay.
and then once it goes through it, you'll be put into a lottery draw. So I think there are about 65 to 85,000 visas that are issued globally on
Okay.
each
Mm.
every year, and you'll be put into that draw. I think depending on the time, right? Like I think there are about 300 to 400,000 application. So out of that, you essentially have what, one fourth or one fifth chance of being picked, and it's
Okay.
purely on luck, right?
Mm.
So let's say, so a lot of company don't want to go through the H process because of the uncertainty, right? Because of
Mm.
course they have to, incur legal expenses. They have to, incur registration and all the different kind of fees to
Mm.
get you into the draw. But then it's a chance. You might get picked, you might not get picked.
True.
So I would say H visa directly from India, it's very difficult,
Okay.
especially in our field. I haven't
Mm.
seen
Mm.
personally. Third I said is F visa. So F visa is more of a student visa, right? So you come here, you do a course, then usually it ranges from 6 months to couple of years, depending. It's more like a master course, right? So
Hmm.
masters, and once you have that, you can work for a certain period of time, being in the US after you get done with your course, and then of course you'll be again put into the H draw, and then
Okay,
you have to go through the H process, and then if you get picked, then yes, you can work here.
got it.
Right. I think J visa is more of a temporary visa. I haven't seen a lot of, I think mostly it's like I've seen public accounting firms do it for J visa, but it's more like get employees here on temporary basis, and then you have to go back. So J visa, I would keep it aside. I think these three, L, H, and F, are the main visas. And of course, you guys can research, right? You have all the
Okay,
resources now, so you can do that. I'll also share my own personal journey, like how I got to the US. So I was working with Grant
okay,
in Dubai for more than a year, right? So Grant in the US wanted me to be in the US. So I came here through L visa.
okay,
Also, the thing that I want to highlight here, guys, is that it's easier to get L visa through Middle East or UAE, for that matter, than getting an L visa from India because the rejection rates are high.
okay.
So in my case, it worked in my favor because I did it through Dubai.
Oh, got it.
That being said, of course, like there are company there I've seen, I have my friends who did L visa from India and they got here. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't say like that's not possible at all, but it's difficult, especially in the current environment.
Got it.
So now, Shivam, you're gonna ask me like, okay, what you tell me all sounds difficult. How the hell do I get to the US, right?
True, true.
And I would say like the best way is like, there, as you mentioned, right, there are a lot of back end offices in India, right?
Okay.
A lot
Hmm.
of companies, so there are a lot of opportunities, and you can look at the growth rate over past few years in this whole back end industry or outsourcing industry. In our field, it has exploded, especially post pandemic.
Hmm.
If you guys really want to be in the US, target these companies, get into these companies, do the back end work,
Okay,
understand the dynamics of US market. It's going to give you a great exposure. You'll understand how, you'll not only understand the technical aspect of your work, but also like cultural aspect, the communication, right, which is really important. And most of the times what I've seen, and I also have friends, they worked in the back end office, then their company sponsored them visa to get to the US,
okay.
and then you be in the US. Usually L visa is for 3 years, right? So depending on which company you're working with and what is their requirement, you get here on L visa. And if your company really wants you to be in the US, they can do it through in India. They can also do it through Middle East. So they'll work it out for you. So that's one of the, I would say, economical way to get to the US. The
Got it.
second way is, do your masters, or
Hmm.
do some kind of diploma course also, right? Get your own F1. Once you are in the US market, and once you have some kind of, you know, US degree or some experience that's going to back up your CA, is going
Hmm.
to really help you. So I have friends who came here on F visa and now they're ported to H visa. But of course, you got to understand the risk, right? So one of the things, Shivam, that you mentioned is like the news that just came out.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if that's, I again, I don't know, this just came out, right? I would assume this would be challenged in the court or there would be some legal aspects to it. But if this is implemented, then is it really worth coming to the US and investing, you know, 50 lakhs 1 CR in your education? Probably not.
Hmm.
Until the air clears up. So I want to be transparent there. If you're still following the whole thing, and we don't really have a lot of clarity there. But yes, that is, so with the changing landscape, you got to understand the risk. So research, research, research. That's the best thing. Get a mentor who can help you, who is actually in the market and can help you.
Got it.
I hope I
Got it.
didn't miss out or anything. If you guys have
No,
any
I
specific
think
questions,
you
please.
covered everything out, which is there, right? Which are the simplest way and how someone can get there. One very interesting question based on this is, let's say I start my journey from the global markets. Let's say I'm talking about Deloitte USI or any of the company who have major outsourcing work in India. right? But because of some global challenges, I will not get an opportunity to go abroad, right? So my career gets stuck here as well. Reason being, now I cannot move very easily to some of the other firms because I've only worked in a global market, which is US primarily. Number two, let's say if I want to move to any Indian company, they do not consider much of my exposure because they say that you're majorly worked into an outsourcing work, which is coming from a US or a global country where you have not handled a significant accounts or you have not taken a major work. So how do I tackle this situation? If you can just guide us on the same.
So Shivam, if I understand your question correctly, what you're asking me is that okay, if I start working in an outsourcing company for US and India, and then if I want to get move into some other field or want to move like get more towards client side in the India itself,
Yeah.
it's going to create a hurdle. In my experience, not really, right? Because guys understand US, the experience you get in the US is going to count. The US, the technical nuances here, and even the if you compare SEC to SEBI, SEC is much more stringent. We also have PCAOB, which is Public Accounting Oversight Board, which basically oversights the public accounting firms, and they are very strict. So, in my opinion, US experience is going to help you wherever you go,
Okay.
right? And again, it just depends on what kind of role you are in, right? And right now, I'm talking about public accounting firms, right? Um, Public accounting firm, if you have public accounting experience in the US, you can get into any other market. That's because I have seen like we also like in GT we had a back end office in India, and I've seen my colleagues in India do great for themselves. Some of them started their own outsourcing firm. Some of them moved to the UK. Some of them
Mm,
moved to the Middle East. And I personally haven't heard any situations wherein they were told that like they were asked like, hey, because you don't have X amount of experience and you only worked in US market, we can't really hire you. I don't think that I haven't personally seen it that way. Because also understand when you come here and when you're actually working for public accounting, you're also going to get a very strong ICFR background, which is like
okay.
controls testing, which again is a great skills. Yeah, I know. I think India also now has controls testing, right, for public accounting, for public companies. But the quality of work that I've seen here largely differs from some of the other markets that I've worked with. So I am confident enough to say that this experience is really going to help you. And then again,
Got it.
understand like if you are in the back end, right? There is a huge demand in the US for public accountants, right, or chartered accountants, and there aren't many students getting into a CPA course, which opens a huge opportunity for us, right, to fill the gap. And understand like hiring a resource in US is much more expensive than hiring a resource for the same company in India because obviously there is a cost benefit and um, there's a benefit of hiring people from India. So that means a lot of companies, even today, are looking out to
Mm,
set up their back-end office in India. A lot of companies have already done, but even like the smaller companies, smaller public accounting firms are looking for partners in India, right? And of course, like if you're serving US clients, you can expect to receive a better, fees because of the per hour rate here as compared to what it is in India, right? So that opens up a great opportunity. So even if you're working in backend, don't think of it as like, okay, I'm just stuck to the US market. There are many other
okay.
avenues, there are many other possibilities you guys can explore. But the important thing is like as you when you work on backend, you really understand how the US market works, which I think is a you know, big advantage that you guys would have.
Got it. If someone have this thought process, let's say, since you mentioned about CPA, if someone have this thought process that I'll move to UAE, right, and parallelly do CPA, and I'll also learn IFRS as you mentioned out in a very nice way, and I'll try to work in those companies, those whose head office is in US, right? So I will have a added advantage to shift to US someday. Is it a right thought process?
Yes, because that's exactly what happened with me.
Okay,
Right. I
got it.
moved to other market and I got that experience and then I got into the US. And it was like the biggest advantage I had is that I didn't have to spend a penny to get into the US market because the company did everything for me. And they also gave me a relocation bonus because they really wanted me to be there because of my experience. And
Right.
also, one thing I want to highlight, Shivam, is I wasn't a US CPA when
Oh,
I got into the US market. I came here and I did my US CPA. So
okay.
US CPA is not a deal breaker, but it gives you some kind of competitive advantage, right? When you do a US CPA, it really helps, but it's not a deal breaker.
Got it. Got it. And just wanted to know what are the majority of roles which are available in the global market, especially US, in terms of vacancies?
So as I said, there is a shortage of public accountants in the US. There are all sorts of vacancies here.
Oh,
Shivam, the problem right now, which I see, is not the vacancies. It's getting through or navigating the whole visa process and the sponsorship process,
true.
which with due diligence, and of course, some things are in our hands, some things are not. So focusing on what things are controllable, doing the best you can, and cracking that process, I think you have all sorts of vacancies, and you can get into lots of different types of roles.
Right.
Be it M&A, be it public accounting, being tax, being FP&A. I have chartered accountant friends who are all in all different fields, and all these fields which I just mentioned.
Got it. India it's completely different. We have a lot of CAs now, and the vacancies are restricted to some domains only. But I think great, which is there. Also, just wanted to ask you out since you also highlighted on some portion of soft skills, which is there, as you mentioned out, the communication is something really important, right? So how can I work on the same if I am working or if I'm targeting any of the US company or in a back office or trying via UE route or whichever route I'm trying, how I can improvise my communication skills?
So on the job training always gives you, first-hand experience. So what is expected out of you,
Okay,
right? But you got to be open and you got to take the feedback and understand, right? So one thing that I always tell even, my teammates or people that I work with in the past is like ask for feedback, right? It's very important to, set up on a monthly call or bi-weekly call, which whatever works for you guys to get the constant feedback, right? Which really helps you to understand some of the gaps you have in your skills, right? Including presentation and communication skills, and then how you could do better.
okay,
Second is practicing, right? I think we have a great GMCS course, which I went through after I got done with my CA, right? I believe it's a 15-day or 20-day course. Can't remember, but it was a great course which, really helped me, right, to brush up my presentation skills.
got it.
Um, and yeah, like just practicing, like that's the thing. You
That's
got
the
to be
only thing.
open and you got to understand. Like the first step in being a better professional from my perspective is understanding which are the skills that you lack, and then focusing on those and getting it to a point wherein you master a certain skill. And obviously it takes time, right?
Got it.
Also, I know, like, I used to be really, I mean, I think I still am to a certain extent, scared of public speaking, but there are like n number of courses. I know there is a Toastmaster course, right, wherein you can go out in the public and talk, right? So that really helps. Um, and also, like, one thing I want to add, right? So when you go for an interview, guys, just have a story ready to sell yourself. Sell yourself, sell yourself, sell yourself. Very important. You gotta know exactly why a company will hire you, like how you are better fit for them than anyone else,
True.
right? So those are my 2 cents, Shivam.
Mm, Great. Coming to the favorite question of every student out, which everyone is really excited to hear about, is of course, the salary portion, right? How much a salary, let's take it a base as a fresher CA, right? How much a fresher CA will be getting in India versus UE versus US, right? If you can just tell it out in terms of numbers. Otherwise, it's also fine. And if you can also highlight on terms of expenses, how much will be a cost of living in, of course, UAE and US market. So let's start
Sure.
with the salary. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what's the salary in India? I mean, you guys can
So
tell me
let's
better, right?
assume that the average salary of a CA is 12 lakh rupees. A 12 lakh is the
Yeah.
salary which average CA is getting out.
Yeah. I think UAE market. would give you around 12 to 13,000 dirhams as a fresher.
Okay.
That's what I would expect, right?
Okay. Mm.
Um, I would say even like you, the important Shivam, and I know I'm getting a bit off topic, is like getting into the market is more important when you are starting off fresh.
Mm.
And then what I have seen is like we chartered accountants are have the motivation to make it big. So even when you enter UAE market and you start off a bit slow as compared to
Mm.
your peers, you can quickly catch up, right? So to give you an example, when I started, in UAE market, within 2 years, I was able to 2.5x my salary from where I started.
Okay.
Within two
Okay.
years. Now, this is
Mm.
something difficult in India, right? Just because of your demand supply and just the competition in the market. But UAE, or even that matter, US will give you that opportunity. Even if you start low, you can quickly catch up. Important is to get into the market. That's one thing. In terms of number, I would say as a fresher in the US, and when I say fresher, meaning some years of experience, because
Mm.
it's always going to help you, right, to land a job here. I would say around 80 to $100,000. That's what I would expect to start with,
Okay. Okay.
and then you can quickly grow. So that is one really good thing. Like you can get promoted within 6 months. People would really appreciate if you put in the efforts, and you could get the recognition here. Also, one thing, if I since just mentioning about my own personal experience, because I've worked with public accounting firm in 3 different countries,
Mm.
the one stark difference that I've seen in the US is just the culture. Like even an intern can go all the way to the partner and talk directly to that partner without hesitation. And I've seen that
Okay.
happening, right? So once you start building that level of connection, relationship with your managers, partners, if you are really performing well, you can expect to grow really fast. So that's on the salary side, right? Like on the expense side, it really differs. I mean, I think Dubai is more standardized because it's just one city, but US, as you guys know, it's huge. So it really depends whether you are in New York City or at some, mid-tier city, right? The expenses largely differ. I would
Right.
say, like in terms of salary, compared to a tier one city to tier two or tier three city, you can expect like 10 to 20% of difference, right? In expenses, it really like US, or I would say New York, because I've been in New York for a long time. It's so varied. Like it really depends, and it comes down to who you are as a person,
Okay.
right? So like I don't know, just to give you guys some number, right? Like if you want a studio apartment, right? I would say most of the people who work in New York City actually live in Jersey, New Jersey, or Jersey City. A studio apartment will range anywhere from 2,000 to 25, or even get to $3,000 a month. But as a fresher, and of course, it's the same case in UAE. I mean, that's what I did also. You're gonna have, you're gonna have a roommate, or you're gonna have a flatmate, right? So then you cut down your cost in half, which is
Okay.
early in your career really helpful, right?
Mm.
And then after that, your groceries, your traveling expenses, right? Those are gonna be the main. I would say like the biggest expense you guys are gonna have doesn't matter if you're in US or UAE, is gonna be your rent, right?
Yeah.
So I'll really focus on that. And then groceries, again, I mean, it could range, right? Like $400 a month, I would say. Like I would say 100 to $200 a week.
Mm.
But guys, understand, US is very expensive when it comes to services. So if you have a habit of going out and eating in a restaurant, the expenses can really add up fast. But let's say if you're someone, who occasionally goes out, but most of the time cooks home, you can really manage your expenses. And you can still, if you are conservative enough, I would say you can expect to save $2,000 to $3,000 a month. But I'm saying
Okay.
conservative. If you go overboard, you might end up spending more $2,000 than what you want. So maintaining a balance and understanding and track. I think which Shivam, from my experience, I think we Indians or chartered accountants are very good at doing our own budgeting and making sure we are saving enough so that it's worthwhile for us to come abroad and set up a life for ourselves. So as long as you guys are in that range, you guys are fine. I think I would do my research, but I wouldn't be hung up on the fact that it's expensive.
Got it.
One thing I also want to highlight before we can go to the next question is that US is much more expensive than UAE. So do your research.
Got it. And also very interesting question, which you highlight on outsourcing. I would like to focus more on it. There are a lot of people, those who want to set up their back office in India. Let's say, I'll be really happy if someone can give me outsourcing work from US and I can get it out in India. I can build my team. I can set up a huge practice. But the question is how I can get the work. If you can just brief on the same.
Yeah, there is one, I think there's, forgot the name, but there is one portal wherein you as an individual can go out and sell your hours a week. So it ranges from 20 to 40 hours a week to a company, and you have X amount of rate per hour. So
Yeah,
as an individual, if I'm starting fresh and I really want to do some consultancy work or more of a consultant role, I can go through that, and I can share the name of the portal with you guys if you guys want
it's
to check it
Upwork
out.
or what? I think Upwork.
Upwork, you're right. Right. So that is just one way. As a firm, if you really want to set up your operations in the US and want to get attract US clients, you got a network. You got a network, which means sending cold messages on LinkedIn, cold messages on, if you have the email address, send them an email.
Okay.
Make sure you have your company website or firm website set up, and you
Mm.
highlight your core services or core skills. Make sure you are compliant with privacy rules, right? I mean, that's a security and privacy right now is a huge deal, right? No one wants if any company is sending their sensitive data to, let's say, in India, they want to make sure there are appropriate controls in place to safeguard the data. So make sure you research, you compliant with GDPR rules, and you have your own, as I said, website. You highlight your core services. Even prepare your own brochure, right? Like,
Okay.
hey, like this other services, and you can, as a flyer, you can send it out to people. Best way, again, I would say, is like contact someone. Like there are many chartered accountants in India, in the US, right? And I think our community, which I really feel proud about, is they really want to come out and help their own fraternity, which
Mm.
is a huge advantage, right? Because most of the, I mean, I would say like many chartered accountants are at the top posts, right? Even as you mentioned, right, Vaibhav Taneja, right? He's a chartered accountant, he's a CFO of a global tech company. So
Yeah.
you're going to find a lot of people, with our background who are at a really good post. Reach out to them, even if they don't need, ask them if they connect to someone who they need would want to set up their backend office. And you might not receive a response, but that's fine. Even if you send out 400, you get a response from, let's say, 10 chartered accountants or 10 personnel. That's a win, because the I would say you can really get really high fees even from one client, as compared to, if you compare it to, let's say, India, right? That's a win for you. And then give them the best support, give them the best services. And as you might know, in our field, good work attracts good work, right? They're going to attract, it's like, it's a domino effect, right? Once someone
True.
knows that, hey, this firm is great and had great experience, they're going to refer to their other friends who might be in the same industry. So getting started and doing some homework and networking, I think, is the best way to start getting clients in the US.
Got it. Just also want to highlight for the people those are watching in, right? In LinkedIn, very simple thing you can do. You can go to ICI page. Once you're there, you can click on alumni. You'll get a list of all the people who are in alumni with ICI. And here you can further filter it out based on location, guys. Right? So you can filter it out based on US. Right? Once you do it out, you'll get a list of people, those who are in US. Right? And then I think Parth mentioned it out. You have to start connecting with your deck or any of the good pitch you have. So do I also need to complete my CPA or anything when I'm pitching someone?
Honestly, not really. I think the biggest demand right now is in back-end bookkeeping services, right?
Hmm.
You don't really need, like, I mean, I would say, like, it will always help you if you have someone in your team who has US background, because that's what it's gonna make them comfortable to, outsource some work to you, right? Because you have that level of that background. Is it 100% necessity? Not really. It's just gonna help you sell better.
Got it.
But
Uh,
Shivam, one thing I also want to highlight to our audience is that you can do US CPA from India, which
hmm.
wasn't the case when I was in India. right? I see Vandana raising her hand. Vandana, if you want to ask questions, go ahead.
Yeah, or we'll take the questions after this.
Okay, we can take the
Anything? Yeah,
question. Oh, that works as well. So
perfect.
yeah, I think you can, and I could be my knowledge might be a bit outdated, but I think there are like you can take US like US CPA from India itself twice a year or something. There are like two times in a year, and when you can apply and take exams. Also, if you guys have been through CA, you guys are very smart, right? US CPA is not that difficult. It's not that difficult. It's not that huge of an investment either, and it's going to add feathers to your cap. So if you
Okay,
really want to target US, in terms of outsourcing work or really actually want to be present in the market itself, research and see if that works for you. And I think it might be a worthwhile, investments in yourself.
got it. Last few questions. After that, we'll open the forum for the audience, right? One thing which you would like the people to know about US market, which is a myth about the US market, right? Let's say a lot of people have, "Ki nahi, this is very tough," or anything related to taxation. Because one mindset which comes to people head is India is the taxable country. You move to UAE, it's a tax-free country. How does it there in US in terms of taxation, or any myth you want to break about a people out? Can I, this is something very different which you have ever seen or thought of?
Yeah. If you want to talk about taxation, I mean, we do have taxation here. It's not UAE, right? It's not a tax haven. But we have a good program here. Like you have Social Security program, right? So right now, even though it's deducted from your salary, once you hit the retirement age, you're gonna receive a fixed income every month from US government, right? There is
Mm.
also 401k, which I think is similar to a pension, right? Or provident fund in India. It's going to deduct from your salary, but you're going to receive it back when you turn, it's a pre-tax deduction. And taking out that, we have federal tax rate and we have state tax rate. So state tax rate really depends on where you are in the US, right? I would say New York, California probably has one of the highest state tax rate, but a state like Texas has no tax, like no state tax. So again, really depends on that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like any other country, not excluding Middle East, you got to pay your taxes. But what I would say, like after tax salary is still decent enough that you can live a decent life. And as you progress in your career, you can have a good life. Like American dream, okay, one myth you said. So I would say American dream is not as easy as some people think it is, but at the same time is
Not
very much
tough.
achievable.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
also not
achievable.
that
You got
tough
to work
with
for
the
it.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think other thing I would say US work-life balance. I think when people come from Asian countries, they're like, "Oh, I used to work 16 hours a day. I'm not going to be working that hard in the US. It's a Western country." I don't think that's true. I mean, I've definitely worked that hard here, but in hindsight, I've already always appreciated, the experience I got and the people I've worked with, which is very important, right? People have really appreciated me when I have done good work. So that really helps and push you in the right direction. So.
Got it. Now we'll open the forum for students, guys, right? If you have any question, happy to take it forward. Yes, one question is there. Trump has imposed one 1 lakh dollar H-1B visa. What about that, sir? Would US company hire us or not? What's your take on this?
I have so my and I know this just came out yesterday. So as I said,
Yeah.
like we're still digesting and understanding the implications we have on ourselves. But this is what I think. There are 7 lakh H1B workers right now in the US. Do I think that US has capacity to replace all 7 lakh workers? I don't think so. That's my own personal perspective. Is this thing gonna be like this new policy is gonna be implemented immediately, or are there gonna be challenges to or chat this is this notification or policy gonna be challenged? I think so. That's what my immediate reaction was, because guys, a lot of companies, especially big tech companies, relies on these visas to get best talent in the world,
Mm.
right? 100,000 a year per applicant. In my mind, it's more like an embargo. You don't know, you essentially are shutting down the H1B visa process or H1B visa itself. I don't know, like how that's going to work out with these companies. I think there would be some kind of pushback, and there would be some. I think we guys, we got to wait and see. Once we have more clarification, it's a very recent news.
Right.
Also,
One,
I
yeah,
feel sorry, Shivam. Just one more point I want to add. Think about it this way, guys. Like, if the H1 program comes to an end, what's going to happen? The companies are going to look to their back end offices for more work. How are they going to fill up all these resources? So, in a way, it's also going to open up opportunities if this really happens, right? So that's how I taken this right now. But yeah, let's wait for a few more days, few more weeks, and we'll have more clarification.
right. One question out of curiosity I want to ask is, if I search on Google, right, and the searches, which are the top companies in the world, right, or which are the best companies of the world, I get almost every company from US. So why this is so? Why other countries are not able to do it? Why India is not able to do it? So if you can just tell us कि ऐसा क्या है US में? What is there in the US which India is not able to get, or why India is not able to be in the top list, which is there?
Yeah, Shivam, I feel like if you really want to be on the top, you got to innovate.
Okay.
You need innovation.
Mm,
If you look at past several decades, US has been on the top of the list when it comes to innovation. That's why you see US companies dominate the world.
mm,
Let it be Tesla, Google, Meta, Microsoft, etc. Right? There are range of companies which are at the top, right? Because of innovation. Now, how do you drive innovation, right? For that, you need the best talent.
mm,
So think about it this way, right? When there is an exceptional student or exceptional talent in India, and then when they plan to go to the US, now they're contributing to US innovation or US as a whole. So innovation is something in my mind really drives up your country, right?
mm,
And the companies, and which I feel like US has a great access to innovation, has a great access to capital, right? So raising capital in US, and of course I'm also talking about the sheer quantity of money, right? Is also like on the top. But that being said, I think Asia is changing. I think we
true.
have I think we are in a very different times right now where world order is slowly changing,
Mm.
and US has been, he's been a leader, right? It's been on the top of the world for many, many decades. So I hope this continues. But you know,
Never know.
uh,
True.
yeah, yeah.
Right. One very interesting question someone has asked is, do we have to cook our own food in US?
I cook my own food, guys. So yes, yes. You gotta cook your own food, but you can manage, right? I mean, I am with my partner and we manage it. I think it's very manageable. But yes, you gotta cook your own food. You gotta clean your own apartment. So
That is a downside of being there, but yes.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I
We'll
see one
yeah.
question which is also
Yes.
important. I think is there a racism? In my experience, not really. Like I haven't personally went through any, and it's again a sensitive question, but this is again my own experience. I haven't seen anything of that sort. I think, especially at the workplace, people are very, you know, um, very sensitive when it comes to all these things.
Mm,
There are also policies and laws in place that if you face any kind of prejudice, you can sue them, right? There are legal repercussions. So overall, I haven't, but yeah, we do, hear from time to time that there have been cases where there are racism against any Asians or that matter any community. So
got it. And one very interesting question: how many hours do we have to work there if we go to US? It's a very interesting question people are asking me.
it really depends. I would say this thing, right? Um, in early in your career, don't be afraid for hard work, right? Work hard because that's what's going to pay you towards the later part of your career, your knowledge. Second, I would say just comparing to my own experience from India and the US,
Uh,
the work-life balance is much better in the US, and people are much more respectful when it comes to your quiet hours, after hours, they obviously, if there is a need, you got to push and you got to get through your things, but they are still respectful and they also appreciate. And appreciation can come in form of bonus, some perks, benefits, right? So it's not as, I would say this, it is not a norm to work or extended hours every single day.
Got it. Got it. Great. So, guys, if you have any more questions, please put it in the chat. Happy to take it forward. Right. I'll just see any questions which are left. Yes, one a very interesting question. One skill that every CA should build today if they want to move abroad, any country, or they want to have a great exposure like you.
I would say ability to sell yourself,
Okay.
right? But that is the first step that's going to help you get into a market. So think about what are your core skills? What are some of the things that you're really good at and focus on that, right? And then I don't think it's like that's going to help you get into the market. Then you're going to ask me like, hey, that's fine, but what are the skills that I think it really depends on the role you are, right? So if you're in, let's say, public accounting, of course, that differs from, let's say, if you're an FP&A,
Okay.
right? So it really depends and boils down to that. But it's really important, guys, know how to sell yourself.
True. True. Right. Anything which you
I,
love to
I
add?
actually also
Yeah.
like to highlight, Shivam, which I know I've already highlighted before. Guys, networking, connection, networking. Doesn't matter if you're in UAE, Middle East, US, or even India. Networking is something that has personally really helped me in my career. And
Okay.
also, I feel like it's going to help you. You never know who's going to help you out where, whether it's your own outsourcing firm or whether you're looking out for opportunity in the market. So, guys, don't hold it to yourself. Go out, go to different summits, meetups, meet people, share your experience, get to and understand their experience. It's gonna really help you.
True. 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 If I say to students out, one of my favorite dialogue is network is supposed to be built the time you don't need it because the time you need it, you don't need to network it. Right. So it's really important. I
Thank you.
think you highlighted it out. So, Parth, before we close the session out, any pro tip or advice you love to give to our audience, those who are watching it now or later, right? Any pro tip from your end?
I think I did try to give a lot of information during this
Yeah.
call. Can't think of anything. I think, as I mentioned, the last point, I think networking is really important. Guys, find a mentor who's going to help you, in your career, and when I say help you, doesn't mean get you a job, but just, being there for you, helping you when you have career related questions. I think it really helps. And try to find a great manager who is going to really help you develop your skills and also push you, give you a stretch goals, stretch targets, test your abilities, challenge you, right? I think when you have such kind of mentor or not mentor, a manager, I think that really helps to upskill and grow in your career. So think about it when
Got,
when you're out in the market, like that if is your manager really adding, because he's the one who's going to be spearheading your career for you. Who's going to be there out there giving you the quality of work and pushing you to the greatness. So
Great. I think you correctly said it out. And it was great. In fact, a new learning for me, right? I still remember our first call, right? I was very excited to know how actually the US market is working. And it's very new for me to understand and digest things out which are there. Right. I'll be really happy if some of my students get into this market soon so that I can also proudly say that we have placed the student out. We have a community of more than 300 students now in Dubai, those have got placed and still the community is increasing day by day. I still remember 2 years before we had a first session for UAE. Now we have a 300 students in UAE. So let's see, right? How does this journey go? But the intention was to help you out, guys, those who are watching this, right? If you have any more queries, this video will be live on the YouTube after this, so you can just put your doubts in the comment section. Happy to take it forward, right? And if any specific doubts are there, you mention it out. I'll collate the doubts, and of course, I'll trouble path and ensure
oh,
that the
absolutely,
queries
guys.
answers.
Trouble
Yeah.
me, reach out to me. I'll also drop in my personal email if you guys need me for anything. You guys can also connect to me on LinkedIn, right? And I'll
Yes.
try my best to help you guys to the extent I can. And yeah, and again, I would my closing remarks, Shivam. I think you're doing a great job. I think
Thank you.
you guys like you. I think Shivam is a great mentor, right? He's right an example which I just mentioned. he is there for you guys. He's trying to reach out to, people like me, Bhavesh Bhai, other people in UAE, and trying to help you guys and give you the best guidance. So Shivam, kudos to you. Um, really enjoyed this session, and I really hope we continue the work that we have
Yeah.
here. You, and of course we'll be, supporting you to the extent we can.
Done.
And yeah, guys, just anything, please reach out to me. And thank you
Done.
all
Done.
for
Yes.
joining, and great meeting you all.